So the National Archives just released more than 1,000 pages of newly declassified documents relating to the Kennedy assassination. Gerald Posner is an investigative journalist who has looked through those documents. He joins us tonight. Gerald, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker. Thanks for having me.
So first, let me just ask you, there are still documents that haven't been released. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing. 15,000 documents approximately haven't been released. I mean, these documents were sealed before you and most people who now cover the case were born. So it's been decades we're waiting for them. So
what, now you wrote a very famous book called Case Closed, which is a great book, arguing that, the Warren Commission was essentially right in its assessment as lone gunman. But what could possibly, there's got to be some reason to keep these things classified.
Yeah, I mean, look, part of it is the bureaucracy of the intelligence services. So they won't give up on documents if they think there's something in there they want to keep secret, even if it happens to be the name of a former agent or a way that they spied on embassies from Cuba and the Soviets years ago. So they lock those up. They keep them confidential. They fight against their release. And I always thought that it would take a president like Trump, who was president in 2017 when this issue came up, to say to them, no, I'm not buying the old excuses for confidentiality, release them all. They convinced him to hold on to them. And then it came up, in October of this year with Biden, who's sort of, been there long enough in Washington that he's comfortable with those intel services. So again, most of them stay sealed. What are they going to tell us in the end? It's not a smoking gun of a conspiracy, but I do think, Tucker, that it could be hiding the evidence that the CIA in particular had information that Oswald was potentially dangerous, might act out, and they didn't do anything a month before the assassination when he had a job on the route that the president's motorcade was going past.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor. Can I ask you, so you just went through the documents that have been released. Really quick, what jumped out at you? Anything?
What jumped out at me is this is not the way to do a document release, because they're releasing documents without telling you what had been secret before. So you get a new document, and some places like the New York Post and the Daily Mail ran headlines that said, by the way, Oswald was in touch with a KGB agent a month before the assassination. True, that's what one of the documents said, but that's old news. It was actually released in '98. What was new in that document was one sentence about the CIA spying on foreign embassies. So unless you go back through the old documents and compare them, you don't know what's new. The archives could do a much better chance of making this simpler for transparency's sake for historians.
And our journalists could do a better job. I mean, on many levels. But
I think that's true. But as we were talking about before, most journalists weren't even born when Kennedy was killed, so they aren't versed. They aren't in the weeds like I am on the case. So it's hard for them to know what's new versus what's old news.
No, that's totally right. We're glad you are. Gerald Posner, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Great to see you.